organizations that have extended support for this event. Here today we have Whistleblower House, which is Adv Foundation, OUTA, Active Citizens Movement, young people from the Adv Foundation, as well as the mining affected communities of Southern Sudan. And they are also raising others who couldn't make it in person, but would have liked to be here. So thank you so much for coming out. We have a very short program today. First of all, we'd like to extend thanks to the leadership of SARS for allowing us to come here and not to picket against them, but to picket alongside them, because this is really a solidarity protest in support of Adv Coreth Naude, who was almost killed just a few weeks ago. She's investigating a very sensitive matter and was pulling into a driveway in KZN. 4 shots were fired at her, and she was hit in the chest and the head, and is now recovering under a heavy security presence. So it's really in light of that, together with the range of other attempted assassinations, threats, assassinations targeted at whistleblowers, at honest public servants, at investigators over the last few years that we've seen in this country. And as you can see, the messages that are reflected on some of our posters says that we will not be silenced, we will not be intimidated, and we will continue standing with the honest public servants, investigators, activists, journalists, investigators that have stood up against corruption, state capture, fraud, and have really dedicated their time, and in some instances their lives, to improve this country and to improve our democracy. It's also Women's Month, and Adv Coreth Naude is a woman. We know it was also in this month that Picket was killed. And I think that's a real indictment on the situation that those who are honest face when standing up for this democracy. So I'm going to call up just a set of speakers from different organizations who will be able to share some of their insights. First, I'd like to call Cynthia Stimple. Cynthia is from Whistleblower House, also on Defend Our Democracy National Committee. And Cynthia herself is a whistleblower. So Cynthia, over to you.
Thank you very much. Defend Our Democracy and Adv Naude campaign, the Whistleblower House, and Active Citizens Movement, everyone present here. We stand here today at the end of Women's Month, in a year that marks the 30th anniversary of our democracy. Yet, we stand here today to call out an attempted assassination of a woman who was doing her bit to uphold this democracy. 3 years ago, in this very month of August, we had to stand with placards very similar to the ones that we hold here now to call out the assassination of yet another woman who was doing her bit to protect our country, Babita Deokaran. We must ask ourselves that when we mark the transition to democracy 30 years ago, is this the quality of democracy we had in mind? Did we envision a democracy where the corpses of honest women and men working within the government entities keep piling up? Did we envision a democracy where whistleblowers in the public and private sector have to go into hiding, and where investigators have to look over their shoulders as they fall into their driveways? Did we think at the time that in a country where we are guaranteed the constitutional right to freedom of speech and the right to life, we will have to stand with posters stating that we will not be intimidated by bullets that are put into our car doors? When those who are honest fear doing their jobs honestly, then there is an attack on the very fabric of our democratic society. This is because attacks on the likes of Adv Naude and Adv Coreth are not just meant to silence the individual, but it is meant to send a message to anyone else who dares to uncover and expose the truth and uphold the rule of law. In the face of this threat, our democracy, we are standing here today with colleagues at SARS to say that we refuse to be intimidated, we refuse to be silenced. I blew the whistle at SA just 8 years ago. It was a lonely and scary experience. So today, as a representative of Defend Our Democracy and of the Whistleblower House, and as someone who has walked this path, I offer my solidarity and support to Adv Naude and her family. We are here today to give courage to those who are unafraid to uncover tax evasion and who want to stop millions from being looted from the public purse. While we are here to stand by Adv Naude and the family, at the same time, we would like to recognize the sacrifices of others like her who stood up for what is right and who paid the ultimate price. There are those whistleblowers whom we are calling the living dead, people standing up for the truth whose lives have been destroyed. And there are those who have died for the truth and courage. And these include Philemon Ngwenya from the Free State farmer, murdered for exposing the Estina Dairy Farm scandal. Jimmy Mutlala, the former speaker of the Mbombela municipality, was assassinated in 2009 after exposing alleged corruption relating to the construction of the Mbombela Stadium for the 2010 World Cup. Moss Foucault, a Rustenburg councillor, was murdered in 2009 after he blew the whistle on alleged corruption within Rustenburg municipality. Adv Coreth, a Gauteng Department of Health senior official, was killed after exposing 850 million of dodgy deals at Mbisa Hospital. Liquidators Clute Murray and his son Thomas were killed in Midrand when investigating several high-profile cases. Benedict Zenzele Sitole, forensic investigator, was assassinated just a few weeks ago. He was at that time investigating the alleged renting of JMP guns and cash-in-transit crimes. Colonel Franz Matiba was the Hawks official killed while reporting investigating a matter allegedly involving South African National Defence Force members. Ronald Mani and Timson Chililo, who were employed by the Mvembe District Municipality and blew the whistle on the VBS. Tabang Maupe, a ward councillor from Petahomo Tubatso local municipality, who was also vocal about the VBS matter. Nordin Ngombani, who was the head of Free State Government's Policy Monitoring and Evaluation Unit in the Premier's office, who was shot dead at his house in Bloemfontein. And anti-gang unit investigator Charles Kinnear gunned down outside his house in 2020. And the list goes on. We must ask our government, law enforcement agencies, and the criminal justice sector, what are you doing to ensure justice for these people and their families? Can we get answers, not just about who pulled the trigger, but more about who ordered the killing in all of these cases? When will those who ordered the killing of Adv Naude be in dock? When are we going to get feedback on whistleblower protection policies? Or do we need this list to get longer for you to do something or anything at all? So, as we stand here today, 30 days into democracy, And at the end of the Women's Month, we want to say that we cannot let these attacks go. Those who undermine our democracy and let them get away with it. We will keep shining the spotlight on these cases. We will continue exposing corruption, state capture, fraud, and misgovernance, and any malfeasance. We will continue demanding justice for Adv Coreth Naude, for Adv Coreth, and for all those who stood up for what is right. We will not be silenced. We will not be intimidated. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm going to call up Kumla Williams from the Adv Naude Foundation. Kumla was also a whistleblower, and I think will have similar sentiments to she is saying.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I wanted to start by saying, who ever thought that 30 years into our democracy, we would be standing here to support South Africans that are meant to be protected by the Constitution of this country. Advocate Naude was killed, or was attempted to be killed, but also a number of others who were killed for doing their work, for working to protect the democracy that we are currently enjoying. As the Adv Coreth Naude Foundation, we felt it proper that we should come in here and raise our voices for people like Advocate Naude, the investigator who was murdered, and a number of South Africans that want to see South Africa succeed, to say we will not keep quiet as the Adv Coreth Naude Foundation. And I thought that we need to also remind South Africans the work that SARS does. Today, SARS has made it possible that this country has free education for the poor. Today, SARS has made it possible for health services to be provided for the most vulnerable. Today, SARS has made it possible for us to enjoy the infrastructure that we have in the country, to make sure that the economy of this country succeeds. They have made it possible for the go-go's, for the disabled people to get some of the benefits that will make sure that they live. And yet we are here to be intimidated. SARS is being intimidated not to do its work. We are here being intimidated that our investigators must not do their work. We are here intimidated that the advocates should not be doing their work. I think as SARS and as all peace-loving South Africans, we will not keep quiet. We have to call it out for what it is. It's people who are greedy, who just want money for themselves. And we as South Africans, if we keep quiet, this will be the beginning of us having a mafia state. We are here to say, SARS, do your work without any intimidation, and let us call all South Africans and pay their taxes. And we want to say all South Africans who support the work of this country and protect the democracy that we have, they have to call it for what it is. Law enforcement agencies can do so much if we as South Africans are not going to support them. A number of you, in one way or the other, may know somebody somewhere who was involved in shooting Advocate Naude. We have to make sure, and we have to inculcate the culture of saying, I have to do my bit. You don't have to expose yourself, but you can interact with the law enforcement agencies to make sure that you give the information to them. As the Adv Coreth Naude Foundation, we would like to say we pledge our solidarity with the family of the Naude. We want to express our wish for a speedy recovery of Advocate Naude. We want to also say, as the Adv Coreth Naude Foundation, Speak out if you know there is something wrong that is happening in your environment. For us as civil society, all of us, we are saying we are not going to tire until we see this democracy back on track and the mafias that want to drag our country being rounded up and not allowed. This is our country. This is the future of generations to come in our country. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Pumla. I'm going to call up Adv Coreth from Auta. Ali has been one of the most consistent organizers against state capture. He's present in a whole range of events over a very long period of time. And Ali, I think we want to thank you for the commitment to this work.
My input is going to be very short. Cynthia has already listed a number of whistleblowers and investigators that has been killed. We should declare and accept that any attack on a government official or policeman or policewoman tantamount to a prison. That we cannot compromise. Not so long ago, we were at Palm Ridge Court protesting against certain individuals who still have cases hanging above their heads. Without mentioning any names, some of those individuals yesterday were sworn in as members of parliament. What kind of a country whereby an identified potential lawbreaker becomes a lawmaker? There's a lot that still need to be fixed in this country. But the government cannot fix anything if civil societies are regarded as opposition. We are not here to fight the government. We are here to partner with the government. We do not have all the answers, but a good collaboration with the government can make a difference. We are not casting any aspersion or a verdict of guilty to certain individuals, but let us find it in our stride. Any person who is up and down inside the court until that individual is proven not guilty, let that person step aside even from our parliament. There's a lot that's going on in this country, but we cannot compromise to fight against corruption. And civil societies, we will continue to fight all kinds of corruption and crime. Today we've got all types of mafia. We've got construction mafia, we've got water mafia. I don't know what else mafias we have. But it's high time the government take a step further to stamp out and root out any form of criminality and corruption. But the killing of police, law enforcement agency officials and government officials must come to an end now. And we will continue to fight. In conclusion, we are saddened that now and then, even the very top officials are tainted with certain corruption, and most of such cases are brushed under the carpet. But you cannot succeed to keep civil societies quiet. We are watching the space regarding VPS without going into details. Those that are implicated, whether they are guilty or not, we are hereby sincerely asking all the individuals, from the president to the councillors, to step aside. Is that too much to ask? No. We still have people whose names were mentioned in state capture corruption, but today those names are in parliament. We are saying no, because that extends the platform of corruption. I thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Ali. Kulumani was supposed to have been here, but they couldn't make it, and shared a message of support. Kulumani details, the statement says, Kulumani's support group condemns the assassination attempt on the life of Adv Coreth Naude, and it states that Adv Coreth Naude was appointed to investigate the tax affairs of businesswoman Ms. Easy. It's a lengthy statement, so I'll just read a part of it, where it says that as a country committed to a practice of the rule of law, the state followed every procedure to ensure that due process was followed in the actions it authorized in relation to Ms. Mkhize. We stand together with all like-minded civil society organizations and individuals to condemn the attempted murder of Adv Naude, as she served the agenda of assisting our country to recover from the extreme damage wrought against it by the hands of high-placed individuals with no respect for the country and its citizens. And I think just to clarify, there's absolutely no accusations or speculation about who is behind the murder. It's just stating the facts at hand and the investigative case that Adv Coreth Naude was looking at. I want to call on the SARS Deputy Commissioner Johnson Makubu. And I think it's important to note that there's a narrative that state capture didn't do the damage that some may be insinuating in recent days, that our institutions weren't brought to its knees. And that's the kind of narrative that needs to be dispelled. I think that there are many in SARS over the last few years who've worked extremely hard to lift up institutions like the one that we are at today, that were really damaged by state capture and malfeasance and misgovernance. And we want to commend the current leadership of SARS for doing all that it can to try and change this institution. And I think Pumla has indicated the importance of this institution in our democracy. And thank you so much for hosting us here today.
Thank you very much, Chair. We would like to acknowledge Defend Our Democracy and all the affiliated organizations that have organized this particular session. And I welcome you and acknowledge your presence here on behalf of Commissioner Chris Letter, who couldn't join us today. We often remind ourselves when we approach our work that the work that we do is transformative. We often remind ourselves that the work that we do is work that is not about us, but it is about what we call a higher purpose. And that higher purpose is to create a capable state that is able to meet the needs of its citizenry. And to this end, we are backed up as a leadership team by more than 12,500 colleagues that work tirelessly to make sure that that work that we do ultimately affects positively the lives of our fellow countrymen and countrywomen. We are convinced that this higher purpose is important for us to pursue at all costs. And when therefore we stand here and we see the solidarity that you are extending to us, we are indeed encouraged. As the leadership of SARS, we appreciate the support from civil society in the fight against corruption and in recognizing those involved in fighting corruption, whether they be in law enforcement or whistleblowers. We would like to again emphasize that evil prevails when good citizens keep quiet in the midst of corruption and malfeasance. We recognize and honor the dedication, the bravery, and the integrity of our law enforcement officials, our lawyers such as Adv Naude, tax investigators within SARS, and whistleblowers. I think the honor ought to be given where honor is due. Daily, these colleagues wake up, put on their badges in some instance, to make sure that as a country, we become a law-abiding country which thrives. I also would like to say, considering the recent assassination attempt of Adv Naude and the tragic loss of a number of lives that have been mentioned here, for instance, Babita, Dokaran, as well as the Murray, father and son, Klute and Thomas, as well as Zenzele Sitole, just to mention a few. It becomes significant and important, therefore, for us to pause and say, we acknowledge the role that these colleagues are playing in making South Africa work. And therefore, when there is a concerted effort to attack them personally and cause them harm, we can't stay and remain silent. During Women's Month, as it was said before, we pause to pay tribute to the courageous women in our land that speak out daily and work to serve the greater society, in the process taking it upon themselves to speak against corruption and malfeasance. We would like to place it on record as SARS that law enforcement officials are the bedrock of our constitutional democracy, and the protections granted by the Bill of Rights must also be extended to them without compromise. Lawyers and prosecutors form a key pillar of our criminal justice system to safeguard communities and uphold the law. We also would like to place it on record that tax officials and those who work within the Treasury family to uncover financial crimes and ensure compliance with the law, to ensure compliance with the law and the integrity of the economic system. These colleagues, without their commitment, the country will not be able to meet its sustainable development goals and will continue to be a country that sees lawlessness. Furthermore, we would like to put on record that whistleblowers will speak out against abuses at great personal risk, do so in the interest of the country, and all citizens must extend support to ensure that whistleblowers in our country are protected. We know that many suffered great loss and harm, and some even suffering the ultimate price, even during the state capture unveilings that we saw during the commission that was. The recent targeted attacks reflect an escalation in a pattern of violent intimidation against all law-abiding citizens, and we must take a stand as a collective. These attacks are a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who work to uphold justice and protect our community. Yet, they also underscore the strength and the resilience of those who stand on the front lines to defend the interests of our country. SARS therefore reaffirms our commitment to supporting and protecting those who dedicate their lives to the pursuit of justice. We will continue to do our work without fear, without favor, and without prejudice. We will remain undeterred by the thuggery that we see in some circles of our society. South Africa can remain confident that SARS as an institution of government will uphold the higher purpose I spoke about, and that will act to ensure the interests of this organization and the interests of this country by taking into account all the laws that we are set up to protect. We will continue to make it hard and costly for those that want to remain uncompliant to an extent of participating in criminal activities. We will make it costly and we will make it challenging for them to continue to do so. And this we will do, as I said earlier, without fear and without favor. We thank you for the support that you have shown us. Some of our colleagues that are not here are probably going to see this in the media, and are going to know that they are not standing by themselves, but they have the country behind them as they do the work that they do. We are emphasizing that the work that we do is not for us, but it is to make South Africa a great country to live within. Thank you very much.